access the podcast of OA. Located deep within Sector 14845 and powered by the Emerald Light of Will, the podcast of OA is your guide to the Green Lantern universe. Hosted by Lantern Myron Rumsey, the podcast of OA begins now.
Hey, Green Lantern fans, you're listening to or watching episode number 240 of the podcast of OA. I'm your co-host, Myron Rumsey, and my friend on the other end, Mr. Phil Bova. Phil, it has been a heck of a long month. A series of calamities. Let's see. The good news, the good news of the last month was you and your family are in your new home. So that's wonderful. That's spectacular. But then everything kind of went to crap other than that, right?
Yeah. And it all went to shit. And I'm going to say that, and I hope it doesn't get bleeded out because real life got in the way fast. And yeah, I mean, it was, but we got over the hump. We're good.
Yeah.
New car,
You ended up getting a new car.
Yeah.
Your wife was sick, your son was sick. I came down with COVID and I was bedridden for like a week and a half. It hit hard this time. I've had it once before, and this time I was just down for the count. I slept. I don't even remember that week. I think I slept the entire week. It was just crazy. And then my wife got it. She got it from me. And now my wife is older than I am. I'm 59. My wife is 66. For her, it was just like getting a cold. She was like nothing. Didn't affect her hardly at all. She had a little bit of a stuffy nose, felt a little sick, and here I am lying in the bed, hardly even able to get out of bed. So it's been a little while. So we I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be sitting upright, at this point. So it's going to be a good episode. We're gonna double up. We're gonna do issue 8 and 9 of Green Lantern and get caught up with the Jeremy Adams run. And then the next episode, we're going to get caught up with the John Stewart run with Green Lantern War Journal. So then we'll be caught up with those two books. And then at some point, once the Godzilla versus Justice League book is over with and Kong, we'll do that in its entirety.
It's a good book. I need to read the last issue that just dropped, but
Yeah,
it's good.
I haven't caught up either. And then just like last year and a couple of years previous, we're going to be doing an event with other shows. And this year it's GL June, which is something we started last year. And we're going to be doing a Kyle Rayner event, and we're joining up with a number of other Green Lantern podcasts. So we hope when we get to that point, you guys tune into all the other shows. And when we get to that point, we'll certainly share out who's doing what parts of what story. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Green Lantern news wise, there has not been a whole lot. There was just recently McFarlane Toys announced yet another Green Lantern figure. This is a John Stewart it's an interesting character design because it definitely looks like 70s Neil Adams retro, but the Green Lantern logo is a little funky and the outfit's a little different. But I'll throw a picture up on it for our YouTube viewers. That's coming out, and it's part of a Justice League wave that has a Build-A-Figure, and people are really jazzed about the Build-A-Figure because it's a really, really cool looking plastic man that has a lot of different accessory parts to make him look like he's stretching and bending in all different kinds of ways. But there's a little bit of controversy because people are a little upset that they've got to buy all these other figures. It's a Build-A-Figure. So they're a little upset they've got to buy all these other figures just for a plastic man Build-A-Figure. But it is what it is. The other thing is they haven't really officially announced it, but it was leaked out that there's going to be, in the Superpowers line, there's going to be, in addition to Hal and Sinestro and John, and the Kilowog one that's coming out, there's going to be a Guy Gardner. So that's really nice. I'm kind of hoping maybe they build up to doing a Central Power Battery OA playset kind of thing. That would be really awesome.
What about the Target? You want to do that one?
Oh, I thought we talked about it last episode, but yeah, Target Con did the Red Lantern Hal Jordan Funko Pop. I don't have it here handy. But
Well, they also got another one coming out too.
Oh, do they? Do they? I must have missed that one. What is it?
I think they're doing, and from what I've heard, is they're doing a Kingdom Come Green Lantern.
Oh, yes, you're right. I did see that. A Kingdom Come Green Lantern figure. I think that's going to be an exclusive to C2E2.
Yeah, I'm hoping that my buddy Brian, what's his name? I would show him my Red Lantern one, but it's behind my shelf and it's got all stuff stuck on it.
You're keeping the design of your lantern cave under wraps right now.
I am. I have to wait till I get it set up a little bit. I'm excited to have this new little area, and it's really nice down here. But yeah, I'm gonna wait until I want to get myself situated. I got to get my headphones working because I'm missing my headphones, and my mic's right here. I assume it's working okay as usual. So
Yeah, things are
anyway,
sounding
but
good.
when I get it all set up, yeah. Anyway, when I get it all set up, it'll be on display. I promise.
So, and I don't think there's been any Green Lantern appearances outside of the regular books right now either. So, in terms of Green Lantern on the panel, I don't believe there is any. If we missed something, let us know. But we've got a couple books to talk about. So I'm excited because issue 8 and 9 does some interesting stuff. 8 is a little bit of a, I don't want to say filler, but it's certainly one that kind of shifts gears and pivots the book a little bit. And then 9, boy, do we get some answers. So I'm looking forward to talking about this one.
Sure. I'm glad we're back. Been too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a long month or so. But let's take a quick pause, and when we come back, let's start talking some Green Lantern comics. I'm looking forward to it.
This is Giancarlo Volpe, producer of Green Lantern, the animated series, and you're listening to the podcast of OA.
All right, welcome back. So we're going to start out with Green Lantern number 8. As always for this run, it's written by Jeremy Adams. This is another issue drawn by Amike Nahulpan. Hopefully I didn't slaughter the name. If I do, I humbly apologize. So this issue is, I called it kind of a pivot issue because it doesn't progress the story a whole lot. It kind of is a little bit of a pause before things kick into gear. But we find out a little bit about what happened on Odom. And once again, a power battery's gone kaboom, as we see, and Razor had to get his way off planet and get to Earth. And it's interesting to watch the interplay. I mean, you can really tell Jeremy Adams has experience with Razor from his work on Green Lantern, the animated series, from the couple of episodes he wrote there. So he's really trying to bring in Razor's character from the show and bring into a 2D environment. I like it.
That's a good bridge. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're going to introduce a character in comic books, you got to. I mean, for lack of a better word, you don't want to get in there and create a character. Just you don't want to get his characterization wrong. And
right.
it's good and it's lucky that Adams was on this title, and he's able to secure that and bring him into the book without losing what Razor is and how it was for the animated series for so long.
Yeah, and there still is a contingent of fans who have not seen that show. So I hope maybe for those that have not seen Green Lantern the animated series that this spurs them to want to go and check it out. But Razor is a really good character, and his journey and Aya's journey really made that show. But it's interesting because Razor challenges Hal, saying, "Well, maybe you don't want to leave the atmosphere," and this is again about Hal struggling with this new ring that he has, and the fact that he can't get it off of Earth, and uh, so he's struggling with that. And then Carol shows up, and it's such an odd thing, this dynamic between Hal and Carol in this run, because it's like neither one of them want to say what they need to say. You know what I mean? They're both holding back. So there's so much unsaid between them. And she, of course, is ticked off because Hal went off to deal with Sinestro and everything and never bothered to tell her he was okay when he got done dealing with Sinestro. And that's often been the crux of Carol's frustration in their relationships in the past, is that Hal doesn't do that considerate thing of letting her know he's all right. He just assumes she knows. And that's one of his shortcomings in the relationship. And her shortcoming is that she brings such a level of expectation that Hal can't meet it. But
Well, and not only that, it's that whole game that they play. Well, should I
yeah,
stay or you want me to stay? Okay, so let's think about this in perspective. Knowing Hal as a character, am I froze up? I
yeah,
think
you
I'm froze.
froze.
So knowing Hal as a character, um, they do that dance all the time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, but nobody comes out and say it. So ask yourself this: would he stay if she said so? No,
Probably not.
he'd still go.
Well, right now he would because he can't leave.
Well, yeah, well,
But I think that's a part of it is in my mind, at least in my head canon, Hal is struggling because he can't get off the Earth. He's not a Green Lantern anymore necessarily, although he's pseudo Green Lantern right now. He doesn't fit in anymore, and he's had this huge loss, and he doesn't know how to deal with any of that. And so Carol is his anchor because right now it's all he's got. But as soon as, and as we see, as soon as he gets the situation resolved, then it's like I'm off Earth, you know. And
yeah,
that's always the problem. And here he's like he's baiting her, you know, give me a reason to stay, you know, and maybe I'll stay. I think he wants. We're talking about these people like they're real people. That's what's funny. These characters like they're
I
real people. Uh, it's like he's waiting for Carol.
psychoanalyze Hal and Carol.
Right, right. He's like he's waiting for Carol to say what she really thinks. Yet he himself won't tell her what he really feels, you know. So it's just such an odd dynamic, and it's very realistic, right? You know, the Clark and Lois Lane dynamic is almost too perfect, you know. They have such a solid relationship, and it seems like they didn't have to try hard. These are two characters that really struggle. They have so much baggage, and they do it deep down love each other, but they just can't get out of their own way to be happy with each other. And you see it here, and she
I
leaves,
agree.
and you see her crying in the car, and Hal flies off trying to deal with things with Razor. Uh, that she's important, but she's not quite as important as him being a Green Lantern. And
Or his razor, apparently.
right. And she just wants to be the most important thing in his life to an extent that he can't do anything else. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. You know, she always was calling Hal on the carpet for leaving Earth and going off and doing his Green Lantern stuff because she wanted all of him, 110% of him. And she knows she's not going to get that. So that's, you know, that's why she's holding back. And rightly so, she's guarding herself. So it's people get frustrated with this run a little bit because they thought that Hal was really creepy in the beginning with the way that he, you know, he locked himself into the cockpit and got on the plane and basically got himself alone with Carol, and that was kind of cringy. And I get it. But you also have to understand such the complex history these two characters have. There's so much that these two people need to say. Like if they could just get together for a cup of coffee and have an honest to God, heart to heart conversation, maybe they'd get somewhere, but neither one can do that. So you want to take both of
Here's a
them.
news flash. Just be honest with each other.
Yeah, you want to take both of them and just
Jesus
shake them.
Christ, it's not that
You just,
hard.
you just want to shake
Oh,
them.
God.
But Hal goes,
God.
and I did not have on my bingo
I mean, that's the
card.
one thing about a relationship.
Yeah, I did not have Madame Xanadu on my bingo card. I don't know about you.
Did not see her coming at all.
No, it was neat to see her there. It's interesting that of all of the heroes, other than the Flash that we've seen in the series, Madame Xanadu is the only one. So it's kind of surprising that he wouldn't talk to Clark or anybody else from the Justice League. He talks to Madame Xanadu, and we find out that Sinestro came to her first, and she couldn't help him either.
It's funny that Sinestro visited.
Yeah, yeah. And then we see the UP lanterns show up, and this is where things do get very interesting in this issue, because we discover in this issue that these lanterns, whose outfits are completely different, they don't even call themselves Green Lanterns, they call themselves United Planets lanterns, can channel other colors of the emotional spectrum, and they channel two colors that we've seen the power batteries blow up on, blue and yellow. Very interesting dynamic. So you kind of wonder what's at play here, and we find out a little more as we go forward. But in this first interaction, it's like, wow, these guys are really changing things. I don't want to say at will, but they're changing the colors as they need to, which is a completely new power set.
That is kind of cool. Especially that hawk thing or whatever, that hawk guy looking thing. Is that a bird or a
The
hawk
the
or
the,
something?
the eagle type guy, the eagle or hawk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really cool looking. But it's interesting because it makes me wonder, uh, how did they get them? And then that makes you, and as we find out going forward, but at this point in reading the reading experience, you kind of wonder, well, okay, the two batteries that blew up just happen to be the one colors they're funneling in. Are they behind all this? Right? That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Or maybe there's a central power battery that is able to channel all the colors through a
Right.
single lens, and
Are they
they're
some?
pulling their powers from these different power or this one singular
Yeah.
battery. And in a sense, what you could think about is each one's blowing up. Maybe each one's blowing up and it's being replaced by a centralized power battery that's able to filter all the spectrum.
It's it's fascinating, and I can't wait to see how the rest of this unfolds. And these three UP lanterns, for lack of a better way to call them, they escape with Razor, and Hal is stuck on Earth, and so she sends him back to where he and Sinestro fought, and they had that power energy surge, and that his answers lie there, and that's kind of the end of it. It was a good issue, but again, it was a little slower paced. And you kind of wonder, why did we spend the time with Hal trying to get off Earth again? Because we kind of already know the answer to that question. So it kind of feels like he was trying to pause things a little bit before he goes forward too much more.
I always thought about it as a piece that had to do with Razor's part, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of the filler part where, well, why's Razor involved? Where did he come from? How did he get? And now that we know what happened on Odom, now we know, okay, well, this is why Razor's in the picture.
Yeah. It makes all kinds of sense there. Like I said, I think this was really a pivot where we're going from the story that they were doing, and Jeremy Adams is now going to jump into something different as we see when we get to issue 9. The backup, people were really excited about the backup because it's Kyle Rayner as written by Ron Mars and artwork by Dale Eaglesham, which, you can't go wrong with Dale Eaglesham artwork.
Oh, that art's fantastic. Alex looks awesome in this.
Yeah, and
Alex,
it's Kyle talking to a construct of Alex, but I kind of almost want to say it's not really a construct of Alex because she doesn't talk. She's just there listening. But it's Kyle kind of talking about what it was like in the beginning for him and where he is now and how he kind of feels lost. And to me, and I'm not a huge Kyle Rayner fan. I haven't read a ton of Kyle, but to me, this felt like it was a very typical Kyle Rayner story where he's very introspective and he's self-examining things. And it's interesting, of all the people he brings up, he brings Alex to the forefront, not Jade, not Dinah, not Sornik Natu. So that was interesting. It was nice to see the Radu coffee cup thing show up. I think for people that love that run, I think this was really a love letter to that.
it really is, especially when you put Radu in there. I mean, that's a swan song for Kyle Rayner fans. I still got to get my coffee mug. I haven't ordered it.
Yeah, you can get Radu's coffee mug on Amazon, which is interesting.
I know Kennedy goes, but oddly enough, it doesn't come with a green interior for whatever reason.
Right, right. I don't think it's an official thing. I think it's somebody took the logo and
Right.
and made one, and nobody's doing anything about it. But it's
So then
interesting.
we see Kyle running into Sojourner.
Yes, yep. And she has a hunch that she's got information about things going on with the United Planets takeover, and that sets the stage for stuff going on Oa that is going to converge. I mean, we know it's going to converge in the ongoing story, but now you've got two of the Earth Lanterns focused on something that's going on outside of things.
I will say it's kind of cool seeing those two together. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's an unlikely pair. It's like, okay, Simon and Jess getting back together. Whoop-de-doo. But like this is an unlikely pair teaming up. So it's kind of neat that they're going this route. And I think you kind of called it, or we both maybe have called it earlier. At some point, there's got to be some kind of Lantern Civil War. It's going to take place.
Yeah, I think it was a text message. You and I were talking about something
Yeah.
else, and I said I sense a civil war coming, and that's kind of what I think is going to happen. Is we're gonna have a showdown, and you're gonna have the characters are gonna have to decide which side are they on, and we see that in the very next issue, actually. which was kind of funny because we talked about it before this issue number 9 came out. So we'll pivot back over to issue number 9. Once again, Jeremy Adams versus Zermanico is back. I did like Amakei's artwork in issue 8. I thought it was nice. I didn't care for this cover in particular, but the issue's artwork I thought was good. And Dale Eaglesham, again, you can't go wrong with Dale Eaglesham, and he does a great job. And again, I'm not a huge Kyle fan, and I'm certainly not a big Ron Mars fan, but I thought it was a good backup, and I'm sure the people that loved that run, this was just a nice love letter, and people wanted to know what was going on with Kyle, and they do a way of they come up with a way of bringing you up to speed with Kyle, but still propelling the overall story along. So it was a really good issue.
And not only that, it gives readers the glimpse that sooner or later he's going to be involved down the line.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's gonna have to be involved at some point.
Yeah. So we jump into issue 9, and Hal's at the hole in the ground where he and Sinestro had their battle and that power surge, and he finds kind of an underground world, and which looks amazing, by the way. Great artwork.
Really colorful art.
And who does he run into but Tom Kalmaku, which is neat because we haven't seen Tom since the Green Lantern run, that issue where Hal was arresting God, and he put God under arrest, and they don't really interact, but you see Tom Kalmaku on a snowmobile, and he sees a green streak and realizes it's Hal. But here we get more, and I thought this was really a neat deep dive because Millennium is an event that really nobody speaks about anymore. So it was neat to see Jeremy Adams find a way to make Millennium still be canon and have relevance and have a reason to be there. If you didn't read Millennium, it was interesting. It was an event. It was a DC Comics event, and this was when the Zamorans and the Guardians decided to get back together again and leave our universe behind. And so there were these characters that were selected to be the new Guardians. And Tom Kalmaku was one of those people. I think the Floronic Man was one of them, and I couldn't tell you who the rest of them were. And they had their own 12-issue series. It only lasted 12 issues. It wasn't an event that really got anybody too awful excited, but it was an interesting. I think it was probably one of the first, if not the first, Green Lantern centric DC crossover event. So it was interesting in a way, but you find out what happened to Tom. Tom left. He comes here to kind of guard this thing and says that a lantern's going to show up. And I heard some chatter online saying, well, if he knew a lantern was going to show up, he had to assume it was going to be Hal. But Tom is a very noble individual, and if he's given this sacred mission, he's not going to just tell Hal, and he wouldn't know how to get hold of Hal. He doesn't know even know Hal's back on Earth. And he's had interaction with other Green Lanterns, so how would he know it was going to be Hal?
Right.
But
True.
Go ahead. Yeah, right. So the revelation here is that what Tom is protecting is a central power battery that's buried deep inside the Earth's core. That is basically what's been fueling Hal's ring. So Hal's ring that he'd willed into existence from the energy from the Manhunter is energy that he's been kind of siphoning off. So he doesn't have a full charge. He's basically just getting enough power to do some things, and that's about it. And so we see here the ring dissipates. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, just funny, all these power barriers are blowing up, and then all of a sudden there's one here on Earth, presumably been there for who knows how long, and all of a sudden it's just now brought to his attention.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm going to go with it. We don't know when they did it.
Right. It's cool. I like it.
We'll go with it. But so Hal gets a new ring, and it's interesting that there's this little chamber, and there's only 6 rings in this chamber. Now it says it'll make more, but Tom says there's enough here for all the Earth Lanterns. Well, there's more than 6. There's 7.
Well, I mean, maybe it can replicate. Maybe it makes 6. And then it comes up, and then it releases the rings, and then the next 6 come up.
But what Tom says is there's enough there for each member of the 2814. You can make more, add to your members, but it will take time. So I'm assuming they're not counting John, because John is ascended. So
Oh, well, that could be too. That makes sense.
that's my assumption at this point. But he gets the
That
ring
would
and
that's a good keyhole. I mean, that would
yeah.
fit with what they're going on his line on his arc too.
And I kind of dig the design of the ring. It reminds me of a design that Hal had once upon a time. But he now has an Owen ring back. And basically, Jeremy Adams tries to explain this is why there are so many Earth Lanterns, is because humans have this propensity to overcome the odds and not follow out orders, but yet still do the right thing. And so this is their backup plan in case something goes south, which I get it, but it's still too many Earth Lanterns. Regardless of the
And not only
explanation.
that, everybody makes the argument about it. I mean, there's not
Yeah,
a Green Lantern fan out there who doesn't make the argument there's too many Earth Lanterns.
yeah.
Everybody knows that same old argument goes on and on and on. Why are
Hmm.
there so many? Why are there so many?
Yeah. And I agree with it, but that's, that's a argument conversation for another time. But
My favorite page on this book was that one when he breaks the atmosphere and he's above Earth.
oh yeah, yeah. Because the first thing he
Oh,
does is go into space and look back at Earth. And
yeah,
just the look on his face, and to me, it captures the wonder of what it must be like to be able to do that.
yeah, that's really cool.
And of course he leaves Tom to fend for himself,
Oh,
doesn't say
bye,
goodbye to
Tom.
Carol, and off he goes, right? And I guess that really that only means one thing. And you know what that is? Carol's going to realize that she loves Hal and is going to follow him into space. That's what's going to happen, right? It's going to have to happen. Because that's just the
I mean, well, and that might play into what you were talking, what you and I kind of alluded to with the Civil War thing. I mean, it could come into play where she contacts the Zamorans, and the Zamorans end up siding with Hal and the Corps against the United Planets.
it,
Yeah, I
it
mean, you're
could.
talking that's some good source material there. You could really stretch that.
Yeah.
You could do that. Well, you could do that with any number of the lanterns. I don't know what your Larfleeze is doing these days, but
We'll find out by the end of this issue.
I'd sure like to know what he's doing these days. Not gonna lie, he's a pretty curious character, but hey, whatever.
But I think it's, this really, Hal's got his confidence back. He's got a sense of purpose. So he leaves without even giving Carol a second thought. Doesn't say goodbye. It's like, wow. But he gets near the end of this edge of the sector, and of course, there's still a quarantine in place, and he encounters his old friends. And I love the little fight where he makes a construct of himself doing a little, hits the guy. Pretty
Me,
cool. And they once again are, they're able to channel all the emotions. They've got Red this time, which we didn't see before, I don't think. And we'd heard somewhere that Yzmalt, that was one of the things that Razor said in last issue, is that he'd heard rumor that Yzmalt was, the red Power Lantern battery had been exploded there too. And so here we get I think this confirms that whole piece. But Hal gets captured and gets to Oa, which is where he was trying to go anyway. And the only thing that bothered me was he's seen these UP lanterns channel the other colors of the spectrum, and their batteries have blown up, and he doesn't make any connection whatsoever between the two things, and is going to go back and tell the United Planets about these central batteries blowing up. I mean, it's not just pure coincidence that the colors that he knows are blown up are the colors they're channeling.
for all intents and purposes, the
Yeah.
UP could be behind it.
Right. And that'd be the first thing in my head. And I
Yeah.
don't have the experience that he's got. So I kind of was a little disappointed that he wasn't a little more clandestine about it, but he gets there, and who shows up in a construct tank? Joe Mullane. So that sets us up for uh the rebels.
So is Joe Mullane is like here to rescue every Earth Lantern now? I guess she's gonna show up at the end of somebody
Yeah,
else's.
I got to that point. I was like, why did it have to be her? Why couldn't it have been 2-6 or Trella True from the Morrison run, or any alien lantern? Why does it always have to be an Earth Lantern? And that's back to my whole complaint about and criticism about the number of Earth Lanterns is whenever we do anything, it's got to be one of the Earth Lanterns because we have to give them some page time for their fans. And there's a whole core out there. I want to see more.
Well, but think about it. Most of them are probably already part of the UP. Hal hasn't come
Mhm.
across anybody besides the main lanterns that are questioning what's going on with the United Planets, right?
Right.
So a lot of the alien lanterns might be off the cusp on Hal's doing wrong, not necessarily the other way around.
It's possible. I would just, I don't know. I would have personal preference. I would have liked to have seen an alien lantern show up
No, I get it. I
once in a
understand.
while.
I completely understand.
So the backup is a Jessica Cruz story, and they, just like they brought Ron Mars in to write Kyle Rayner, they brought Sam Humphries to write Jessica Cruz. And I know you're a fan of Jessica. I'm not that big of a fan, and I'm much less of a fan of Sam Humphries. But anyway, if you're going to have somebody write Jessica, it's nice to have Sam Humphries back for fans that like that run. Um,
True. I didn't much care for the artwork in it. They made it look kind
yeah,
of,
I felt like the artwork had a lot of empty backgrounds and a lack of detail, and it looked a little cartoony to me.
which big surprise. Look what happens at the end. Look who's mentioned.
Yeah.
Joe Mullane
Yep.
again.
So this whole thing is set up. I mean, she's basically trying to dupe Theros into trusting her, which she does successfully. But here we find out that the orange power battery got blown up and Largfleeze is in a science cell.
Where's that at?
It is on the page where they're talking. It's this particular panel here where um she is talking to Endicott in front of Theros, and somebody, the advisor to Theros, says the squad returned and successfully destroyed the orange power battery, and the creature known
Oh,
as
okay, there it
Larfleeze
is.
has been put in an Owen containment cell.
Now we know what happened to Larfleeze.
Yep. So we know what happens to Larfleeze. So the thing is we know red, orange, yellow, and blue are gone. That only leaves green, indigo, and violet. And we haven't
Well, and
seen indigo since what? Godhead?
and not only that, the green would indicate that's the one that's hidden that Tom Kamaku had and whatever that was under Earth's crust or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, they're not going to get rid of green, that's for sure.
Right. So yeah, I guess you're right. Indigo,
And
red's
it's
counted for. The black isn't.
no, the black isn't. But I don't know as if they will do anything with that. But it's interesting too to note that there are Green Lanterns and then there are United Planet Lanterns, and the United Planet Lanterns are the ones that can do the different parts of the emotional spectrum. Who do you think the sniper is? Do you think that's Simon Baz?
I mean, it kind of looks like him, doesn't it? Look at his head. Look at
Kinda.
his stupid face thing. I don't know.
But she saves Theros from the sniper. And so she gets in Theros's good graces. So she's going to be close to him. And basically, it's nobody would suspect her to be an undercover agent. Um, it's something.
Or something.
And she signals to Joe Mullane that she's got her way in. So obviously, the Earth Lanterns, at least, are planning something, some kind of a revolt. And one of the things I thought that was the most interesting is if this is accurate, we hear a little bit about what the plan or what Theros's goal is, because there's a line in which she says, you didn't want to blow up the power battery. You wanted to stop the orange emotional spectrum from contaminating the universe. That was your covenant, and that's why I snuffed the explosion. So it almost sounds like he's for some reason, he believes these other emotions in the spectrum are causing harm, or maybe it's a religious thing. I don't know. But to me, it goes back to the whole thing with Korrigar. I'm more and more convinced that the whole attack on Korrigar was a United Planets thing, and the whole thing was designed to do a few things. One, it was to blow up the power battery. Two, it was to get Sinestro out of the way, and it was to get Hal out of the way. And Theros getting injured or what have you was just part of the plan.
Well, and that would track. I mean,
Mhm.
that would make and that sounds good on how everything's been planning out so far. You know what I mean?
Right. And were the characters that we saw on Korrigar, New Korrigar, were they Durlans? Because when we've got the whole Durlan part of the equation that really hasn't been played up much. were they shapeshifters? Were they not even what they really look like? For all we know, those three people could have been the three people we saw here as the United
Right.
Planet Lanterns. Maybe they're Durlans. I don't know. Was Theros really Theros? Was it just a placeholder? Was that somebody that was there like a body double to keep Theros protected? Could be.
Well, not only that, the sniper, you know.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue here, and it's obviously building to something big. And now that we have Hal on Oa, I think it's just going to accelerate things.
And it's gonna get fun.
Yeah, yeah. And then in the next part of this is going to be Guy Gardner and his mission for Lobo, which we know is going to be a tie-in to the House of Brainiac. Probably not a huge tie-in, but it's going to be tangentially related to what's going on over there.
I wonder if also he's gonna be waiting for Joe Mullane
Yeah, I don't
at the
know.
end of that issue.
Yeah, please no. So we'll see what happens. But I again that I felt like you said, the artwork was a little substandard to me. It was. I always have a hard time criticizing art because it's so subjective. I mean, I could barely draw stick figures, so this is miles better than anything I could do. But I just feel like it's okay artwork, but I felt like a lot of it was rushed because there's so many things with just plain backgrounds and no detail. And then I don't know if it's the coloring or what or the inking, but I felt like there was no depth to the characters. Like they felt very flat.
I gotta say, man, nobody drew Jessica Cruz quite like Jason Fabok did. He rocked it when he drew her
Well,
during you know, but
Jason
he
Fabok can draw a pile of dog crap and it will look great. Right?
I'll bet. True. Fair enough.
That'll be something he puts in his art book as a call out. You get those quotes from different people. That'll be. But I really
Good
like
point.
the issue. There's some things about the mythology and the whole Earth Lantern thing and why there are so many. It's acceptable. I don't think it's like da da da, shocking or anything like that. But it suits the purpose of things. And just seeing Tom show up and seeing the two of them together is great, as always. To see the two of them together. I mean, Tom Kelmaku is probably Hal's oldest friend.
I like where they're going with the story. You know what I mean? The story is intriguing. The small tidbits, just the little thing you and I sit here and go apart on. It's been a while since we've since we've had an ongoing title that we've been having the ability to do that, to where
True.
you sit here and hypothesize what's going to be coming, right? I mean, because geez, I mean, and we can sit here and talk about and what we think about what's going to occur when everything comes together and comes to a head, because you're only looking at what, a full year, a couple more issues, right? A full 12, right?
Hmm.
Three
I
more.
mean, if you count the two issues of
So
Night Terrors, this would be issue 11. So you're about a year in.
yeah, I don't think we're going to count that. There's a lot of people. There's still people that are all hacked off by the fact of night terrors coming in and
Yeah,
disrupting this.
it's
And
funny.
not only that, because you get the tail end of the House Brainiac, and it's going to involve the lanterns, and we still haven't
Yeah,
gotten this resolved yet.
true, true. And I don't know whether the main series is going to tie into it. It made it sound like it's just the backup, the Guy Gardner Lobo thing, but we'll see what happens with this Absolute Power thing. Absolute Power to me sounds like it'd be a great title for the Green Lantern War event, but I think it has more to do with Amanda Waller. We shall see. We shall see, because we know that Jeremy Adams and Mr. Phillips, God, I can't get his name right. Um, Philip Kennedy Johnson. Uh, they talked about doing something as an event of some sort, and we know supposedly he's done at issue 12, so we'll see what happens there too. But at some point, this
Why
is
does it
all going to
just
come
go?
together.
They should have just went full tilt and called it Absolute Crisis, because everything's been a crisis so far, so you might as well have the absolute one.
It's
And is it the absolute crisis?
it's funny. Some of the online chatter about this series, people were complaining up until issue 9 that things were moving too slowly, and then they got to issue 9 and said, "Well, that moved way too quick." You can't have it both ways. I thought the pacing was fine. Yeah, there was a lot of information in here. Would have been nice to have seen Hal say something to Carol, but I think that's intentional. I think it's a setup for her having this crisis of, geez, I really do love him. I got to give him another chance. I'm off she goes because that's just that's the norm for them. But I thought it was two good issues. Right now we're hitting on all cylinders with these two books.
Yeah, he's writing really well.
Yeah.
And like you said, he pulls out stuff too. I mean, he's like any other, like a good author. He pulled like the Millennium, you know. He pulls out those tidbits, and brings them back and brings them forward. And that's a good writer. They had the knack to do that. And Adams has been great about it since day one.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because people criticize Grant Morrison for doing some of this kind of stuff because he was pulling these very obtuse characters out and using them. Not that their appearance you needed to know the backstory, but if you knew what it was just another added layer. And people kind of lambasted him for doing these deep dives. This isn't that deep as what Morrison did, but I don't know. I love it when that stuff happens.
But it works. I mean, it fits in there. I mean, he didn't shoehorn it in for story's sake, right? He actually
Yeah.
puts it in there for its and it's purposeful too. And as did Grant Morrison, I thought too. I didn't think he pulled anything out of his hat that it didn't help move the storyline.
Yeah. All right. Well, my friend, we've got some listener feedback. So why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll get to your feedback.
Our first message is from Cloned Avenger. He has comments about Green Lantern issue 8. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I enjoyed Green Lantern number 8 quite a bit. Glad we got to see Razor a little more in this comic as well. Seeing the blue central power battery destroyed was a little sad, mostly because I missed the time when Jeff Johns was on the book and all the new core was fresh and exciting. Anyways, the art for the book continues to be fantastic. Also, I really ended up enjoying the Kyle Rayner short story. I gotta ask you, Myron, did you end up getting the Kyle Rayner variant cover? Just kidding.
Hey, Cloned Avenger, thanks for your feedback. And yes, issue 8 was a great issue. Loved it a whole lot. And like you, yeah, I'm a little sad to see some of this stuff from the Jeff Johns era seemingly being dismantled. And I only say seemingly because we don't know where it's all going to go, right? But yeah, it was great. And in terms of how I feel about Kyle, you asked me whether or not I got the Kyle Rayner variant. I did get the Kyle Rayner variant. And just before you ask, I also got the Jessica Cruz variant for issue 9. So I got them both. Oh, and I also got the swimming variant that has Jessica and Joe and all the Earthlingers. Was Simon Baz on that cover? You know what?
He was in the background.
No, he's not. There's Jessica and John is doing the slide for Hal and Guy Gardner and Jessica. There's no Kyle and there's no Simon Baz. That's interesting.
Kyle's got his own variant. That's probably why.
That could be. Simon is deep, way in the background, right where he belongs. That's what it is.
Off panel.
He's off. He's underwater. He's underwater. That's what it is. He was snorkeling.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. This run has been fantastic. This has been a nice return to form for a Green Lantern series. And I don't know how the sales are doing, but I'm presuming well enough that we're getting still 3 variant covers with every issue. And me,
There's
like,
been a lot of variant covers for Green Lantern titles. A lot.
Well, for me, I've been like the idiot, like these are Pokemon and I got to get them all, but it is what it is.
I'm not playing that game. I got to be selective now.
I don't know it's a disease, but
it counts. It counts. It's a disease. It counts.
The variant covers have been really good. I don't know if you saw that one, the swimsuit one. That was really cool with them all swimming in a pond together. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I need to order that one. The last one I ordered, and I think I got the Alan Scott. Remember those Alan Scott ones that I sent you a picture of?
Oh, yeah. I saw 2 figures in the background.
The Red Lantern.
There's two monkeys in the background.
Is it Simon in disguise?
Well, at first I thought maybe that was Simon and Kyle back there, but it's two monkeys. So.
Oh, never mind. The best we can hope is Simon's maybe, Simon's off planet. He's got some kind of special, mission going on or some crap. I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe he's shining his pistol or something. Poor Bass. Man, we rip on that poor guy all the time. But I will give him his due. If he does end up coming back in the Green Lantern Corps title books and stuff like that, I'm not opposed to having him around. I mean, because he's not fun to kick on when he's not here. He's more fun to kick on while he's here because then you get more reasoning.
And it's all good. It's all good natured.
Like Batman.
I mean, I don't want to take
and
off.
it is all in good fun.
Yeah. I don't want to take off his fans, both of them. Kidding. All right, Clone Adventures.
Right,
thanks
let's get off the bad soapbox.
Yeah, we got to get off of that. We got go ahead. Power Ring, give us the next piece of feedback.
Our second message is from the Emerald Enthusiast, who has a comment about Kilowog. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I also suspect that Kilowog isn't dead, but I like Myron's idea for a coffin figure accessory nonetheless. Maybe that should be part of the McFarlane Platinum Chase?
Donnie, my man, Kilowog is not dead. As a matter of fact, we should start like a Twitter chant, hashtag Kilowog is not dead. I think he's still alive. And I think he's going to make an appearance in Expect Away, and it's going to be an awesome appearance. You can't kill off Kilowog. He's just too crucial of a character to sideline, especially with what's coming on the horizon on this.
But kill is in his name, so
But that's where I stand. I mean, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But it seems like he likes your idea about the coffin.
Yeah. And it just reminded me there was another Green Lantern-y type figure. McFarlane did a Spectre figure, and there is one of their chase figures or one of their collector versions of the figure is Hal as the Spectre, but they're not selling it, so you can pick it. You've got to find it.
God, nice. A needle in a haystack.
Yeah. But all right, well, everybody, thank you for your listener feedback. And Power Ring, why don't you tell everybody how they can be a part of the show?
You can become a part of the show by leaving a message up to 1 minute long on our voicemail line. Call us at 406-POD-OA. That's 406-763-6362. You can also email us at podcast@blogofoa.com. We'd love to hear from you.
All right, fellow Owens. Well, it's great to be back on the mic again. It's great to be back on the air. I've missed it greatly. And every night I keep thinking, we got to record. Oh, well, we can't. No, we got to record. Oh, well, we can't. And then I had technical problems, but hopefully we got it all figured out.
Yeah, and we'll be back not too long from now, unless I get sick again. Who knows? And we'll be catching up with as I cough. But we'll be back to talk about Green Lantern War Journal very shortly. That issue has not come out yet as of the time we record this. So we'll be doing that soon. So thank you again for tuning in and bearing with us as we get through some life getting in the way of things, but we're hopefully back on track. So until next time, keep that power ring charged, take good care of each other, and make every day your brightest day. Thanks. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of OA. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.